Hello, Adam. How are you, sir?
Joe Pardavila, I'm doing great.
Well, it's great to see you. And we are doing this series talking about building authority. And we're going to break it down in pretty simple ideas in terms of the who, what, and why. So when you come, obviously you've built a business on authority, but who can be an authority, Adam?
Yeah, great question. So who can be an authority? The simple answer would be, well, anybody could be an authority, but let's take that back because not really, right? To be an authority, you have to have what I'll call domain expertise. You need to have specialized knowledge in a field, in an industry, or in a specific area, right? Like you can't just go out and, claim yourself an authority when you don't know anything about what it is you purport to be an authority on. So, yeah, you've got to have domain knowledge and domain expertise in your industry, in your area of expertise. But here's the thing, Joe. Most business professionals, most CEOs, most entrepreneurs, most leaders, they have incredible expertise. They have incredible levels of experience, skills, and knowledge. But for whatever reason, they don't see themselves as being authorities, right? And if you think about it, the term authority, it almost connotates like royalty. And, most people don't go around walking around thinking that they're royalty, right? And that's actually probably good, because if we lived in a world where everybody felt that way, that could be really not so good. But the point is that more people have authority than give themselves credit for. So, let's take a couple of examples. Let's say you are a financial advisor, right? Let's say you've been in your industry for 10 or 15 years. You've got lots of initials after your name, right? Because you have all these certifications, right? You're an authority on financial planning, wealth preservation, financial management, preparing for retirement. And most of these people don't think of themselves as an authority or an expert, but you've got the experience, you've got the degrees, you've got the certifications, you have the industry knowledge, you have the expertise, right? So that would be one example. Now let's talk about me for a minute, right? So I don't have all of those fancy initials after my name.
And I don't even know if that counts for anything, right?
Well, exactly. I did go to Clemson, where, as our detractors say, the O and N stand for honor and knowledge. But I don't have all those fancy initials, right? I don't have degrees beyond a Bachelor of Science, right? I don't have advanced degrees. So what is my expertise? Well, for 19 years, I have dedicated my professional life to helping entrepreneurs, helping CEOs, helping leaders become the authority in their field. Now, what does that mean? That means I have helped entrepreneurs write and publish books. By the way, I've helped publish over 2,500 books for CEOs in 47 states and like 23 different countries. So I've been around the block a couple times helping people develop content, helping people shape the content, and then publish and amplify that content to an audience, right? I've been involved in the public relations business, so helping CEOs and entrepreneurs earn media. I've been in the business of helping CEOs and entrepreneurs create podcasts, so create audio content, right? Something that you know a lot about, that you're an authority on. Digital media, digital marketing, speaking, and so on down the line. So for 19 years, day in and day out, I have spent my life helping CEOs and entrepreneurs build thought leadership, position themselves as the authority in their field, in their industry, in their community. So, yeah, I don't have the advanced degrees. I don't have all the initials after my name. But for 19 years, I've done this now for thousands and thousands of people. And so what that's done is that's made me an authority on authority. And by the way, I don't believe there could be more than a couple of people in the world that know more about building authority than I do. And I don't say that to brag. I say that everybody listening and watching this podcast, you need to think to yourself and ask yourself this question. What is the word or what are the phrases that I want to own? What are the words, what are the phrases that I want to be known for? And what's that one really niche thing that I can truly be one of the best in the world at? And when you figure that out and when you channel your energy behind building competency and capability in that area and then building authority around it, it puts you in a category of one, and it gives you an unfair advantage over anybody else that might be competing with you.
And time is a bit of a fickle thing. And you mentioned the 19 years you've been doing it. I've been doing radio and podcasting for a long time. But time, how important is that? Can someone be an authority who's been doing something for a few years? Do they have to have decades of experience? Tell me about the wealth of experience needed to be an authority.
Yeah, it's a great question, Joe. So conventional wisdom would say you've got to put in your dues, right? And putting in your dues could be decades of experience. And so if you're watching right now, you're like, I don't want to wait 25 years to be the authority. Like, I need a shortcut. And I get it. I'm with you. So to be an authority, you've got to know your stuff. But to really know your stuff, it doesn't take decades to really know your stuff, right? And oh, by the way, there are quantum leaps that you can make in building your authority, right? So one of the things that we talk about, and you may want to talk about later in this episode, is something we call authority by association. And that is when you associate yourself with people or with brands or companies that have far more authority than you, their authority will rub off on you. So let's use me as an example, right? I started a company in 2005. It's called Advantage Media. And today, Advantage Media is one of the largest independent business book publishers in the country, and it is the authority company. Our expertise is really helping CEOs and entrepreneurs build their authority. But if I walk out on the street and say, how many people have ever heard of Advantage? I'm going to get a lot of blank stares, right? However, in 2016, we built a partnership with Forbes. Now, Forbes is the biggest business media company in the world. Forbes is 107 years old. And if I walk down the street and say, how many of you have ever heard of Forbes? I'm going to guess, if not 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10 people, random strangers on the street, and say, yeah, I've heard of Forbes, right? So when we partnered with Forbes and we launched Forbes Books, which I have the privilege of serving as the CEO of, that authority that Forbes has immediately rubbed off on me, and it immediately rubbed off on Advantage Media. And so today, my authority has had a quantum leap because of the association with Forbes, right? So that's something where, hey, it didn't take me 20 years to make that master leap, that quantum leap. That was something that over a period of time, really a year, to build that business partnership with Forbes, we were able to take that quantum leap. And of course, to maintain your authority status, you have to deliver. You have to continue to be excellent at what you do. But the point is that there are lots of ways that you can accelerate your authority. Authority by association is just one way to do that, right? Another way to do that is writing and publishing a book, which maybe we'll talk about later. Writing and publishing a book is really hard, right? And it does take time, but once you become an author, that creates a quantum leap impact on the perception that others have of you being the authority in your field.
And a lot of this, to some, Adam, may sound as esoteric or mystical to be authority in your field. A lot of the folks that walk through the door wanting to become an authority, they're incredible business people. They're really smart. They have all those letters after their name. They have the advanced degrees. They have successful companies. So the first three letters that come to mind are ROI, So how do you measure the success of building an authority?
Yeah. So the first thing, it's funny. I thought you were going to say the three letters are EGO, right? And the cynics, and I talk to my share of cynics, the cynics say, oh, this is all just about building your ego. And for some people it is. Let's call a spade a spade. There are some people that are very motivated by walking down this authority path because they want to beat their chest, right? I wrote a book titled The Authority Advantage, and we were very deliberate in the subtitle. And the subtitle is Building Thought Leadership Based on Impact, Not Ego. Okay? And I want to just uncover that and peel that layer of the onion back because it's really important. If you believe in what you do, if you believe in what your company does, then you'd probably agree that the more people you can share your knowledge with and the more people your company can help, the better off everybody's going to be. Right? Like I believe in what we do. Our job as a company, our core purpose, growing entrepreneurs and businesses to benefit mankind. And so for every new entrepreneur, CEO, and leader that we can help by building their authority to have more impact in their industry, in their community, in their market, we're living our purpose. And the more people we touch, the more people we impact, the more good we do in the world. I fundamentally believe that, right? So for me, building my authority isn't about building my ego. Building my authority is about impacting and helping more people that can then go on and help and impact more people that are part of their audience, right? So the reason you should care about building your authority is because if you really believe in what you do, if you believe in your purpose and your mission as an entrepreneur, if you believe in the purpose and the mission of the company that you lead, the more people that know about you and the more people that know about your company, the better off everyone's going to be. And so the way to do that is by building your authority. One of the things I say all the time is that people buy people. They don't buy corporations, right? Yeah, you may do business with a corporation, but you're buying into the message, you're buying into the relationship with a person, right? And so like, look at some of the most iconic businesses in the world, right? These are the businesses that we would say are world-class leaders in their field. So let me name a couple. Walt Disney. Guess what? There was a man named Walt Disney. Now, he died in 1965, but incredible that now 65, 70 years later, his legacy lives on. Okay? There's another world-class company called Apple. And Apple is inextricably linked with a guy named Steve Jobs, right? Steve Jobs was this personality, this authority that people bought into and felt like they had a relationship with him, even though they had never met him, right? And then I think about another iconic company, especially here in the South, Chick-fil-A, right? Truett Cathy. You cannot have a conversation about the brand and the business Chick-fil-A without talking about this guy named Truett Cathy. And we can go on and on and on, right? I can talk about Southwest Airlines and Herb Kelleher. I can talk about Starbucks and this guy named Howard Schultz, right? And so the reason I mention all of this is that all of these entrepreneurs had a very mission-driven belief system. They believed in their company. They believed in the mission of their company. And they knew that it was their job to share and spread that mission with more people. And so as they purposefully and strategically built their authority, it wasn't for ego purpose. It was to further the mission of the business that they were leading. And they knew that the more people that experienced the joy of Apple products, the world would be a better place. And the more people that tasted one of those incredible chicken sandwiches, the world would be a better place. And for Herb Kelleher at Southwest, the more people that were able to buy a ticket on Southwest and go experience their grandchild's graduation and be there in person where otherwise they wouldn't have been there in person, the world was then a better place. And so building your authority is about having more impact, more positive impact in the world. It's not about building your ego. Okay? Now, you said ROI, right? Those were the three letters you used. And here's the deal. I would encourage everyone listening and watching, don't focus on the ROI. Focus on the impact you can have, and the ROI will follow. Don't make this transactional, right? This isn't Facebook advertising. If I put $1 in, will I get $1.20 in return? No. That's not the way to look at authority building. The way to look at authority building is, how do I build higher quality relationships with more people? Now, it's funny. You talk to anybody in business that's been doing it for a while, which typically means you're meeting with more senior people. And when I say senior, I mean advanced in age. And you'll hear this common thread. And the common thread is, the older I got, the more I realized how important relationships were to my business success. And so when you invest in building your authority, you're actually investing in creating relationships at scale. I'm a big reader. I guess you would hope and expect that a guy that publishes books would be a big reader. And there's a lot of authors where I've read their book. I've never met them, but by reading their book, I feel like I actually know who they are. I feel like I actually have a relationship with them, Joe. It's the most incredible thing. And by feeling like I have a relationship with them, even though I've never met them, I'm more likely to want to do business with their company, right? I mean, I read all of Howard Schultz's books, never met the man, but I'm more likely to walk into a Starbucks because of it, right? Small example, but it's true. So don't focus on ROI. Don't focus on how does $1 turn into $1.20 in the next 24 hours. Instead, focus on relationships at scale. And so if you're a CEO, you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business leader, you should be sitting down and saying, how do I open more doors? How do I open more doors for my business? How do I open more doors personally? And opening doors is about having more relationships, right? The more relationships you have, the more doors that will open. And so it's not about ego. It's about impact. It's not about ROI. It's about relationships at scale. And the more relationships you have, the more influence you have, the more doors you open, the more goodness that will come into your life and the life of your business.
I love that. And, quick thing on ego, Adam, I almost wish a lot of the folks that worked with Advantage and Forbes books had more of an ego, because I almost feel like we always have to be like, you have to be your champion. They're almost afraid to post that they've written a book. I find it so funny that they want to share this information, but they're afraid to share their information because they don't want to come across it. So like you said, Adam, it's a very small percentage of people that have come in with big egos, but the rest are like, man, I wish I had bigger egos so they could tell the world about the work they're doing.
Well, yeah. And so look, everybody on planet Earth has an ego, right? Now, some, they're very small. Some are like the size of the state of Montana. But ego can be very healthy. If you believe in what you're doing, if you believe in your message, if you believe in what your company does, then making more people aware of it is a good thing. It's not about, hey, look at me, let me beat my chest. It's about, hey, I really believe that I have a formula that can help people adequately save and prepare for retirement. And so if I really believe in that, I owe it to others to make sure I share what I know, right? I was talking to one of our Forbes Books authors 2 days ago, and he said he's in his early 60s. He's had a lot of success in his career. And he said, Adam, I've really kind of gotten to this place where for me, it's all about I'm going to die empty. If I've got knowledge, if I've got experience, and I go to the grave with that still buried inside of me, then I feel like I let people down and I let myself down. So my mantra is die empty. And I love that. I mean, I actually love the way that he thought about that, because so many of us have stories, passion, knowledge that if shared with others could make a positive difference in their lives. And that's what this is about. It's about sharing that to help others, not about building your ego, but you've got to have a healthy ego and be willing to go out there on that ledge and share what you know without fear of people pointing fingers or people saying you're wrong or people challenging you or picking you apart. I mean, fear is what holds most people back from doing most everything. And the same is true in this business of authority, right? The fear is what holds people back from taking that microphone and sharing what they know with others.
Nice. And to pull on that thread about the end, you write about in the book, Authority Advantage, about beginning with the end in mind when building authority. And we don't have to be so fatalistic about, when you go when you're going to the grave, but what kind of ending should folks have in mind when it comes to building their authority?
Yeah, so when we say begin with the end in mind, a big part of our business is helping CEOs and leaders write and publish books. And, a lot of times we'll say, well, why do you want to do a book? And it's very common that we hear, my friends have always told me I should, right? Okay, fine. But that can't possibly be your end in mind. So what's your motivation? And, once you really start asking questions, once you start peeling back layers of that onion, most often you get to, there is a deep personal reason why someone wants to tell their story, why someone wants to share an experience that they had, or share a set of knowledge and skills and, a blanket of wisdom that they've developed over the course of some time, right? So there's really, in most cases, a very, very pure motivation. And so begin with the end in mind is let's figure out what that pure motivation is. And then let's figure out how we tie that motivation to a bigger goal that you might have for your life or for your business, right? In very simple form, Joe, a lot of our CEOs and entrepreneurs say, look, my number one job is to help grow my company. Okay. So one of your motivations is how can I help grow my company? Well, what do you know? Tell me about your expertise. What do you have a lot of experience with? Okay, now let's find that golden thread and tie together how taking what you know can help your audience. Your audience is probably also the customer that your company serves, your target audience. And then let's take what you know, let's get that knowledge in front of more people, and then let's tie that back into helping you grow your business, right? So that could be an end in mind. Hey, I want to grow my business. Another end in mind could be, hey, I'm kind of at a career transition. I'm selling my business. I'm exiting the executive ranks of corporate America. And, I'd really like to kind of have a second career in coaching and consulting and speaking, right? So that's kind of what that true north is. And then how do we take that true north? How do we weave that with their expertise? And then who is that audience that their expertise can be most helpful to? So when we say begin with the end in mind, it's really big picture, what motivates you professionally? And how do we tie that motivation with what you know a lot about, and tie those together to create a bigger opportunity for you and the audience that you want to reach.
And through this authority journey, multiple ways to do it. We mentioned books. You mentioned authority by association. And people are, we're scattered. We're a global entity now. We're not just, in one city and just working with people. We're working with people globally. So the idea of authority by association for some may seem really hard. They could be living right now in, I don't know, Tallahassee, Florida, and they don't get around much, and they probably can't meet some hobnobbers in New York or Chicago or Silicon Valley. So how do you create this authority by association that builds your authority? How are you doing that?
Yeah, okay. So authority by association, most people think, well, I don't know anybody famous. I don't have any clients that are blue chip name companies where everybody knows their name. So I was talking to the CEO of a HVAC company, heating and air and plumbing, right?
Okay.
Kind of boring, right? Heating and air and plumbing, like how exciting is that? And I said to him, how many clients do you guys serve? He's like, well, we've got about 7,900 homes that are members of our maintenance program. And I said, well, how many counties in your state do you have, clients in? And he's like, well, there's 73 counties in our state, and we have members of our service club in 65 of 73 counties. And I said, are all of your members in your state? And he's like, no, actually, there's 4 other neighboring states where we have clients. And so I said, there's something there. And I said, that is authoritative. So let's talk about that. On your website, like the first thing that, when we go to your website, the first thing that I want people to see is we serve 7,900 homes in 63 out of 75 counties in the state of Indiana, and do service calls as far as 200 miles away in 5 different states. That is impressive. That is authoritative. And your authority by association, it's not a famous person, it's not a famous business, it's the breadth and reach of how wide and broad your clients are. So think about it that way. It can be as simple as that.
And another way to do it is with multiple mediums. One is podcasting, something we're kind of doing at this moment. And it's one of the things that a lot of people, I always feel working with folks that do podcasting, I always joke, it's business Tinder. It's your one opportunity to have a 1-hour unencumbered, uninterrupted conversation with another human being, which, Adam, as we know, these days, it's pretty freaking impossible. So not only are you on that same level of raising your authority to that person, but the idea is that you're able to share with that person over 1 hour is just pretty impactful. And again, one of those things where it's like, there's no ROI on it. It's literally like a legacy that can be built from that 1 hour.
Yeah. One of the things I will tell people very frequently, Joe, is you need to think of yourself as a media company. Okay. Now, a lot of people are like, whoa, I don't want to be a media company. And I said, well, if you want to grow your business, you actually probably should think of yourself as a media company. And think of it this way. If you want to grow your business, how do you grow your business? Well, there's really 2 ways. One is grow the value of every client or customer you already have. Secondly, acquire and attract more new clients and customers, right? Those are the 2 ways you grow a business. Do more business with the people that are already clients, or do business with new clients. Okay, so how do you do either of those 2 things? Well, if it's do more business with existing clients, you have to have products and services that they need and want and value. And then you have to have relationships with your clients where you can go back to them. They know you, they like you, they trust you, and they will gladly spend more money. Okay. How do you attract new clients? Well, you've got to attract them in some way. So you could run advertising, right? You could run ads on Facebook. You could run ads on local TV. You could have an ad on the side of a bus or a park bench in your city, right? All of those are different forms of advertising. But when you advertise, you're communicating to the end consumer, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me. That's what advertising is, right? Buy from me. And guess what? Most people don't want to be sold. In fact, the large majority of people don't want to be sold. They don't respond to advertising. It's why people go to the bathroom during the commercial breaks. It's why we invented TiVo, where you could just eliminate all of the commercials, right? Because nobody wants to pay attention to this crap. So let's go back to my comment. Think of yourself as a media company. People don't respond well to advertising, but they do search for answers to their problems. And the number one place that people go to search for answers to their problems, number one is Google. Number two is YouTube, which Google owns. And number three is Amazon. And oh, by the way, Amazon is actually the largest store in the world. So when people go to Amazon to solve their problems, they also have a high intent to then buy something too. Okay? So we don't want to be advertised to, but we sure do need help solving problems. So we talked about you being an expert. We talked about you being an authority. And we talked about briefly the riches are in the niches, right? Like everybody, I won't say everybody, most people that I interact with who are CEOs, entrepreneurs, or business leaders, they have a level of expertise that is very narrow and very deep. But to someone that's having a problem in that really narrow area, they're a world-leading authority in the eyes of that person. So let us help you take your expertise. Let us help you create content, a book, a podcast, an article published on LinkedIn, a video, a speech, an online course, a white paper, whatever. Let us help you take your expertise, turn it into media, optimize that media so it is keyword rich and highly searchable. And so now when I go to Google, because remember, I'm trying to solve my problem, I find you. And I find that you have the answer to my question. And guess what? I'm going to be more likely to lean into that than an advertisement that I just saw on Facebook. Because all the advertisement's trying to do is sell me something. The content that you've created that answers my problem, well, you're trying to help me solve a problem. You're not trying to sell me anything. And so now there's relationship, now there's trust, and now I'm much more likely to want to buy from you because you helped me solve my problem first. That's why every single business leader needs to see themselves as a media company, because you need to create content that answers the problems that are keeping your customers up at night. And no matter what business you're in, I promise you, your customers have problems that are keeping them up at night, and you have the answers to those problems.
That's awesome. And, in later episodes, we're going to do deeper dives into personal brand building, thought leadership, podcasting, obviously books and publishing, media relations, PR. But I want to wrap things up today by talking about the start. How do people begin this authority journey? What steps do they need to be prepared to take to go on and follow this path to becoming an authority in their field?
You already answered the question. Begin with the end in mind. Okay. Now, for most people, the idea of building authority initially is like, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. I'd like to do that. And then quickly, that conviction is overtaken by fear Well, what do I do first? I don't even know where to start. Where do I begin? And then paralysis sets in and nothing happens, right? Now, I recognized this very early on in my career. And so I was able to build a very large business that exclusively was built to solve the problem of paralysis that CEOs and entrepreneurs have, right? So how do we solve that problem? We begin with the end in mind. Now, at Advantage Media, at Forbes Books, we call it the Authority Blueprint. But the Authority Blueprint is really, what do you want to accomplish? What message can you share with the world? Let us now build a vision, a blueprint, a plan, a master authority plan that helps you accomplish those outcomes. And so the way you do it is that, it's an interactive, it's a detailed kind of consulting process where we work with the CEO, the entrepreneur, the leader to figure out, what's their vision for their life, what's their vision for their business, what's the vision that they have for having a positive impact on the world, what do they know a lot about, what do they truly have expertise in, and then how do we build an authority blueprint to help them take their expertise, wrap that with their vision and mission, and then ultimately build and create content that builds authority that can help them impact the lives of other people. So begin with the end in mind is really where you start with all of this. Look, some people should write a book, but there's a lot of people that maybe shouldn't. And building authority isn't about writing a book. Building authority could be, hey, you need to have one of the top podcasts on this topic in your industry. Building authority could be, you really need to be seen as a thought leader on LinkedIn. And what that means is creating really good content, both audio, video, and written, that's published on LinkedIn with a regular sequence and cadence. Hey, building authority really means we need to get media for you. We need to earn your way into other people's media. So that's publicity, right? That's earning your way onto radio, television, and different news programs. So depending on what your true north is, depending upon what you want to accomplish, we're going to build a blueprint and a plan that's going to be unique and customized to every individual to get there. So you certainly don't have to work with us, and I'm not trying to lobby for that. I'm just saying that the first thing that anybody needs to do when it comes to building their authority is really figure out, what do you ultimately want? Begin with the end in mind and work backwards from there.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. And next time, you mentioned Amazon earlier. The next episode, Build Your Advantage, we are going to get into how you can use Amazon to build your authority with Corinne Foster from Advantage Forbes Books. We'll do a deep dive with her, but what do you think? What can Corinne offer to people when it comes to Amazon? Because behind the scenes, we all know that she is some sort of magician when it comes to dealing with Amazon, making our authors become best-selling authors. What's a little nugget we can leave people with when it comes to Corinne Foster and Amazon?
Yeah. So first of all, Amazon is the third biggest search engine in the world. And so it's not just for authors, right? If you want to build your business, you need to understand how Amazon works. If you're an author, you really need to understand how Amazon works. And Amazon, because most people buy things on Amazon, they think that they know how it works. Amazon is this mysterious black box, purposefully this mysterious black box. And unless you spend your entire career learning it, understanding it, following it, because it changes, the algorithms change like on a daily basis, and then understanding how to market and leverage Amazon for its highest, best use, you're not going to get it. So most people that I encounter are like, oh yeah, I understand how Amazon works. They haven't a clue. And so Corinne's expertise is book promotion on Amazon, right? Corinne's probably a top 5 book promotion expert in the world. I would put her, there can't be more than 3 or 4 people globally that know more about promoting books on Amazon than Corinne. And I don't say that to brag on behalf of Corinne. I just say that because that's the truth. I mean, again, she spent the last 20 years of her career doing nothing but that. And so when you invest that much time in one super narrow niche topic, if you're not like one of the top 5 experts in the world, then you're kind of doing something wrong. So I'm super excited that Corinne's going to be with us. She is one of the smartest people in the world. She will make it abundantly clear, Joe, how simple you and I are in comparison to her. But we're going to peel back the curtain and talk a little bit about Amazon and the black box behind it, and how you can leverage Amazon not only to promote a book, but also to leverage the 3rd largest search engine in the world.
Awesome. Adam, I'll see you next time on Build Your Authority.
Thanks.